I get asked a lot what kind of bike I use, what's best, and honestly, I don't think there is ever a best bike, just the best compromise for you and the kind of adventure you are after. And I've ended up with 3 bikes that pretty much cover all the riding and exploring I want to do. The Bombtrack Audax, the Bombtrack Beyond Plus, and the Sonder Camino Titanium with flat bars. They are all really different, and depending on the trip, the terrain, or just how I'm feeling, I'll pick one over the other. So in this video, I'll go through each one, what kind of rides it's best for, and maybe help you figure out which kind of bike makes sense for your adventures. So let's start by breaking down each bike, the setups, the components, and why they are built the way they are. I'll go through the specs first, then get into why I choose each bike depending on the ride later. Next up is the Bombtrack Audax, a steel frame, carbon fork, and an extra large size. This one's a custom build I pieced together over time to suit longer days on the road and light gravel if needed. It's running an 11-speed Shimano GRX 810 crankset with 4831 chainrings and 172.5 crank arms. At the back, I've got a GRX 810 rear mech paired with a 105 1132 cassette. Nice spread for rolling terrain and climbs with a loaded bike. Brakes are fully hydraulic, Ultegra 80/20 levers matched with 80/70 calipers, sharp and reliable, and I just much prefer Shimano brakes, easier to live with. The wheels are a bit of a mix. The rear is a Reynolds AR41 carbon and the front is a Reynolds Assault rim laced to an SP Dynamo hub. Both are set up tubeless, running 32mm Panaraces Gravel King slicks. Fast on tarmac, but still comfy on the rough stuff. The saddle is a Physique Antares R7 saddle with a Dida Zero seat post, a Ritchie WCS 110mm stem with a very important Chinelli bacon and egg top cap. And the handlebars are the Ribble 11.3 carbon bars at 44 centimeters wide. I've also got a Profile Design T2 Plus DL clip-on TT bars with 70mm risers. These are great for long hauls and headwinds. On those, I've added the Profile Design Universal Computer Mount wrapped with a bit of bar tape just to beef it up a bit to hold the Exposure Revo front light mount securely. The GPS sits further forward on a Profile Design Aero bar mount, and the pedals are Shimano clipless pedals, M520, just the basic entry-level ones. Next up is the Bombtrack Beyond Plus. It's a 2019 Beyond Plus model in extra large, steel frame with rigid carbon forks. These forks do have mounts, but they are damaged, so I am now using the CFAL Gizmo Universal Fork mounting system to hold my fabric cageless bottles. These are on both sides of the forks. It's designed for proper off-road touring, rugged, simple, and ready to get bashed around a bit. Now, it's not technically a plus bike anymore since I've swapped out the original plus size tyres for something a bit narrower. It's running a 1x drivetrain with Shimano XT cranks with a 30-tooth chainring and 175mm crank arms. At the back there's a SRAM GX Eagle 12-speed derailleur shifting across a 10-50-tooth Eagle XD cassette with a matching Eagle shifter. Braking is handled by the SRAM Guide 4-piston hydraulic brakes. They've done a good job, but I'm actually thinking about changing them out pretty soon. The seat post is the original Bombtrack one paired with a Pro logo saddle. I'm not sure on the exact model. The stem is stock too, 80mm straight from Bombtrack. The bars are a bit different. I've swapped in the Sonder Confucius bars, which are 760mm wide and features that unique loop front section. It gives you a few more hand positions, but more importantly, it's a great spot to mount lights, GPS units, or even a small bag. I'm using simple unbranded foam grips, nothing fancy, but they're lightweight and I find them really comfortable. The wheels are a bit of a mix again. The rear is a 29-inch Halo Ridgeline with a 30mm internal width. Affordable but solid and reliable. Up front I've got a 29 WTB I-35 Com Tough rim, 35mm internal, laced to yet another SP Dynamo hub. The hub powers my Exposure Revo front light, the red eye rear light, and charges my Garmin A30 while I ride. And I can also charge power banks, phones, etc. And as for tyres, that's where the plus part has kind of faded. I'm running a Maxxis Recon 2.6 on the rear and a Maxxis Icon 2.6 up front. Still wide enough for the tough terrain, but technically not plus size anymore. The pedals are Shimano clipless pedals M520 once more. And finally, this is the Sonder Camino Titanium version 3, in extra large with a carbon fork that has mounts for bags and cages and whatnot. This is the latest version of the Titanium Camino as of when I'm recording this. The group set is a 1x GRX 610 12-speed with a 38-tooth chainring and 175mm cranks, but it's actually running 11-speed. I've got an XT rear mech, an 1142 SLX cassette, and an SLX shifter to match. The brakes follow the same theme, SLX levers, with an SLX rear caliper and an XT caliper up front. The rear one does need changing to a flat mount version, more for the clean look than function though. Seat post is a 400mm X-Sync aluminium post, not titanium, even though it sort of looks the part. The saddle is a Physique, possibly another Antares like on the Audax, but I'm not 100% sure on the exact model. The stem is now a 100mm Kinesis one. I actually just recently shortened it down from one 15mm since swapping from the V1 version of the Camino to this V3 frame. And the flat bar is a Scott branded one, 600mm wide with the same unbranded foam grips I use on my Beyond Plus. Wheels wise, it's another bit of a mix. The rear is a 700C Vel 38 carbon rim, and yes, the free hub is ridiculously loud. Up front, I've got a 700C Halo white lime rim laced to another SP Dynamo hub. Just like on the other two bikes, that runs the Exposure Revo light, the red eye rear, and charges the Garmin while I ride. Tyres are both 50mm wide, but mismatched. A Maxxis Rambler on the back and a Schwabe G1 Bite on the front. They are both set up tubeless like all three of the bikes. And finally, I'm running Shimano M520 clipless pedals, the basic entry level, but solid, the same as the other bikes too. So that's the rundown of all these bikes, what's on them, how they're built, and the bits I've changed over time. But obviously knowing the specs only tells part of the story. The real question is, why do I choose one over the others? Because I get asked that a lot. Which bike do you use the most, or which one is the best for adventures? And honestly, there is no one right answer. It just comes down to the kind of riding I want to do, the terrain, how far I'm going, how much gear I'm carrying, even just what mood I'm in that day. So in this next bit, I'm going to go through how I actually use each bike, the kinds of rides or trips I'd take them on, and when I'd pick one over the other, not just in theory, but from actual experience. Hopefully that will help you figure out what kind of setup might suit the riding you want to do, or at least give you a few ideas. I'll start with the Audax because I think it's probably the easiest one to understand why I'd use it. It's obviously a road bike, but not in the fast, racy, weight weenie kind of way. It's not built to win races, it's built to go far. This is my ultra distance setup, a bike I can sit on all day and all night. It's designed for what I'd call road packing, long multi-day rides, mostly on tarmac and some other rougher roads, but still able to carry sleep gear, a bivvy or a tent if needed. The 32mm tyres help a lot with comfort and stability, especially once you get the gear on the bike. And while I run it with 700C wheels, it can also take 650B with up to 50mm tyres or around 40mm in the 700C setup, which means it's actually more versatile than it looks. That flexibility is also why I didn't mind switching the Sonder Camino to flat bars, because if I really needed a drop bar setup for a mixed terrain trip, I could still use this bike. Although in my experience, most UK gravel routes are better with flat bars anyway. One of the key things I like about this bike is the variety of riding positions it offers. Between the drops, the hoods and the tops, you can keep switching things up to stay comfortable. And then there's the clip-on TT bars, which aren't really there for speed. Yes, they help a bit with wind resistance, but really they are about comfort. With the 17mm risers, the position on the TT bars is actually pretty similar to just sitting on the hoods, but it lets me take weight off my hands and use a different set of muscles. When you're spending long back-to-back days in the saddle, being able to shift your positions, that makes a massive difference. It's not the fastest bike or the lightest or the most aero, but what it is comfortable. And that's what really matters when you're doing 200-mile days back to back. The gearing is also a bit lower than your typical road bike, which helps massively when you are loaded up. You're not out of the saddle just grinding, you're just ticking away over a smaller gear, hour after hour, day after day. And when you are short on sleep, anything that reduces fatigue is a big win. So that's the Audax, built to handle those really long, paved miles with comfort and endurance in mind. But when the route gets a bit rougher, or I want to take a bike that feels quicker, more agile on mixed terrain, that's when the Sonder Camino comes into play. The Camino, or specifically the flat bar gravel version, is where things get a little more interesting. It's pretty obvious why I'd choose the Audax for certain rides, but why would I reach for the Sonder over the Bombtrack Beyond Plus? After all, they both have flat bars, they're both built for adventure, and they're both capable of going pretty much anywhere. The decision though normally comes down to distance, efficiency, and what the route actually looks like. If a ride starts stretching past, let's say 400 miles, the Camino is almost always the better choice in my eyes. Because as the miles build up, the benefits of a lighter, faster rolling bike really start to add up. Longer rides usually mean longer, flatter sections. Trails are often a bit smoother. And there's usually more tarmac in the mix. Or at least some long gravel slogs where a plus bike just feels a little sluggish. Even when the off-road gets a bit rough, I often find that if I can't ride it on a gravel bike, I probably wouldn't be riding it on the Beyond Plus either. I'd be off pushing regardless. When that happens, the Camino is actually just way easier to hike with. It's lighter, it's a bit more compact, and just less of a faff to chuck over a gate or push up a steep climb. makes a difference when you're doing that multiple times a day. Another reason I often pick the Camino is how I've set it up. I do carry enough gear for a night or two out, but it's all kept fairly minimal. So this is the bike I'll take when I know there's plenty of shops along the way to restock. It's just easier to ride light and fast when you know you won't need to carry 3 days of food and water. And it's easier to travel with too. Public transport tends to cater to road bike size setups, kind of. So this one fits without too much hassle, especially when space is tight. So yeah, it's not as rugged as the Beyond Plus, but for big mileage days, a bit of mixed terrain and routes with regular resupply points, the Camino just makes life easier. So that's why the Camino is my go-to when I'm after speed, comfort, and streamlined efficiency on longer rides. But when the terrain gets rougher, the miles get shorter, or the remoteness kicks in, I reach for something a little tougher. That's where the Bombtrack Beyond Plus comes in. Now let's talk about the Beyond Plus. This one's definitely the most capable off-road. A proper, rugged, steel frame, rigid bikepacking setup. It's not fast, it's not the lightest, but it's built to just keep going no matter what you throw at it. This is the bike I usually reach for when I'm planning the shorter, rougher trips, around the 300-mile mark or less. It's a bike I really enjoy riding for a few days to a week, especially if I know the terrain is going to be a bit wild and remote. But once the trips get much longer than that, I tend to start leaning towards the gravel bike instead, just for the sake of speed and comfort over distance. Being a taller rider, I get a decent amount of space in the frame bag here, which makes a big difference. I can carry a lot of food, and that's one of the big reasons I choose this bike when I'm heading somewhere remote, places where I know I'll be away from shops or resupply points for long stretches. The Beyond Plus gives me that peace of mind that I've got what I need, and it's built for exactly that kind of trip. I also prefer this bike on the more hilly routes since it has the easiest gearing of the three, which makes climbing long, steep sections a lot more manageable. On top of that, it's my go-to for the winter and wetter months because it handles wet, muddy and rough trails a lot better than the other bikes. It just feels more confident when the conditions get messy. It's the one that feels the most bomb-proof. The kind of bike I don't have to overthink the line or worry if a trail is too much. I know this thing will just roll through. And honestly, if I hit something I can't ride on this bike, I probably don't want to be riding it anyway, especially being solo out there most of the time. I'd be off pushing regardless. And the Beyond Plus can handle that too. With its big tyres, wide bars and mountain bike gearing, it's just a really solid choice for those slower, tougher, more unpredictable trips. The kind where the ride is as much about surviving the terrain as it is about getting anywhere fast. So that's the rundown of my 3 bikes, each one built for a different kind of adventure. The Audax for those ultra distance paved rides where comfort and endurance are king. The Sonder Camino when I want speed, agility and a bit more versatility on mixed terrain. Perfect for the longer routes where every mile counts. And the Bombtrack Beyond Plus for rugged, remote trips where toughness and carrying capacity matter the most. At the end of the day, there's no one size bike fits all. It's all about picking the right tool for the ride you want to do. Hopefully this helps you figure out which bike might work best for your next adventure. Thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions or want to see any more detail of these bikes, drop a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more bikepacking gear and stories. Catch you in the next one.